Hello, and welcome to a bonus episode of My Streaming Bubble, the podcast where I talk about the streamable media I love with people I tolerate. I am your TV watching and talking host, Jen, and like I said, this is a bonus minisode, all because Stranger Things Season 5 Part 1 has finally dropped, and I watched it, and boy, do I have things to say. So I'm just going to get right into it. I did not bring the power cord down from my laptop, so I'm running low on battery, so don't mind me if I talk really too fast. So I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible. I know I say that every fucking time, but I truly want to keep this as short as possible. There will be spoilers, so just spoiler warning. So first and foremost with Season 5, and I will likely bring it up 1,000 more times, but was this worth the wait? Not really. I think for me, the hardest part about watching this new season was the fact that these kids are now grown-ass adults. And I know we have all made the jokes about that's the most authentic thing about the 80s is getting grown-ass adults to play teens. And absolutely. I mean, again, look at like Grease and like every other fucking movie that came out of the 80s. Those are all clearly people with taxes. Who pay taxes. But it's different with movies, right? Because it's most likely just the one movie. If there is a sequel, it doesn't necessarily mean those same actors are coming back to revise those characters, or not revise, but you know what I mean. It's a little different when it's a TV show and it's the same characters season to season, and especially when those characters are kids. Now, back in the way back times when seasons were 20 plus episodes and came out in a timely fashion like every fall, yes, we'd watch these kids grow up season to season, but it wasn't so jarring. It wasn't so fucking obvious. And the storylines within those shows would progress as the child star grew up. So we do grow up with those characters, with that actor in that role, in those roles. And for whatever reason, I'm currently thinking about Everybody Hates Chris. Don't fucking ask me why. But with Stranger Things, it's different because we watch these kids grow up off screen. And that's fine too, but it's like with so much time in between each season, it's harder and harder and fucking harder to suspend disbelief that these kids are supposed to be like 14 or whatever. I mean, the actress that plays Erica is 19. Holly looks like she's about to graduate high school and start paying taxes herself. I don't fucking know. So for me, that is one of the hardest things to get over with this season, is knowing these actors and these characters could have done all of these things like 5 years ago and it would have flowed seamlessly. It would have been a nicer flow. It would have been easier to believe that as these kids aged, they are still roughly the same age as they were supposed to be in the first 2 seasons. That's what made this watch, these 4 episodes, I think, hard to watch for me. And then there were times that I felt like the performances weren't, I don't want to necessarily say they were like phoning it in, but there was just something really off about it. And I don't know if it's because we've got these adults trying to play these kids and they're trying to come off as kids, but they can't because they're adults now. I don't know what it was, but there were times where I'm just kind of like, I don't know what it is about like this scene or this episode or this moment, but you know, you're just kind of sitting there making like a Chrissy Teigen cringe face, like, ugh, what the fuck? Again, I think maybe they're trying to come off as kids too much and it's just not working. And I will admit, I went into this with a little bit of poo-poo goggles on because I'm just like so fucking irritated with this like year or more in between each season. It's so fucking stupid. I hate it so much. They really need to stop fucking doing that. It's like there's supposed to be a second season of Blue-Eyed Samurai coming soon, or not soon, but it was approved and God knows when that'll fucking show up. What's the point? As I've said before, Netflix should just do limited series and then that's it. between canceling shit and waiting 15 years in between each season. This is not working, and they need to come up with something better. Anywho, I digress. Not really. Everything, what these kids are doing, not the actors, but the characters, would have been so much more impressive if they were still actually kids, if they were still closer to the age that they are supposed to be. I think that's part of the big draw of season 1. Season 1, I think, is still unmatched. It's still the best. I don't hate like seasons 3 and 4 as much as maybe other fans do, but were they strong seasons? Nah, not really. But I still love this show. I am just so very irritated at it because I could love it so much more than I currently do at this very moment. But yeah, so the acting, it feels off, maybe a bit forced, maybe like their hearts aren't in it, but they're like trying to be in it. It's just, there's just something missing. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe I'll have a better idea after part 2. So with these characters, and again, kind of feeling like shells of their previous versions, I'm mostly looking at Joyce on that one. I get that she's overprotective and everything, and starting out as like kind of like that annoying, nervous, gullible, she falls for the whole flux capacitor bit, mom type. I don't care for that. She wasn't ever that type of mom. She was a busy mom before, right? Single mom, trying to make ends meet, all of that, tired. And I do like that she, more or less apologized for not realizing Will had disappeared for 8 hours, but now she's clearly like overcompensating. And I don't know, that's just driving me a little fucking crazy. Another thing about a moment with Joyce is Robin was asking her about lights, if there's ever been a connection with the lights and like the Upside Down or Vecna or whatever. And she's like, no. And it's like, fucking hello. Is that not what all of season 1 is? The Christmas lights. We're getting overly emotional about glowing Christmas lights. The kids even use the blinky house lights, hallway lights, and lamps to fight the Demogorgons. So I don't know if it's been too long for the Duffer Brothers in between the seasons that they fucking forgot that they wrote that shit, but that was annoying. I don't like it. That's just fucking sloppy. And after all this time, there should be no fucking slop. This shit should be perfection. I'm getting more worked up as I continue to record this. Oh my God. That's all I'll say. Oh, and then we do get kind of a little peek into Joyce being a badass mom as she goes to stand up to a Demogorgon, or no, to Vecna, but then quickly gets like tossed to the side because fucking of course it's Vecna. Like, cool that you're having a badass mom moment, but let's like pick and choose those moments because this is Vecna. It's not like a Demogorgon. It's not a Demodog, all right? This is like the big bad. Anyway, speaking of moms being badasses to Demogorgons, we get Karen Wheeler, and the hairvolution of Karen Wheeler continues. Now, first and foremost, the attack on the Wheelers, initially, I'm thinking they died. And they don't. They live, at least Karen does. But initially, I'm like, I was very conflicted on that. I don't necessarily want the Wheelers to die, but out of these 4 episodes, the attack on them, the attack on Karen, was probably like the most emotionally gut-wrenching one so far. Because she went out like a fucking boss. Like, let's celebrate suburban white moms and wine culture just this one time. But good on her. I fucking loved this moment for Karen so much. She's been very much kind of to the side, that's the character's role, and that's fine. But I love seeing that she has a bigger moment. She has a bigger role to play so far in this season. But thinking they were dead, I was kind of bummed because I wanted to see where her and Ted's storyline were going to go. We see them arguing, kind of doing their own things. You feel the tension. And a lot of us know that the 80s was the divorce boom. And now being older and realizing that the 80s was when the no-fault divorce went through, makes so much more sense. So I was a little curious to see how any of that could play into it. I don't know why I need to see them go through marital problems. I don't know why I need to see their marriage crumble, but whatever. The authenticity of it all. But Karen lives. She pulls through. And then Nancy and Jonathan, I believe, either way, they manage to weasel their way into the emergency room to see her, to ask questions. And it's like, in true mom fashion, we can't even fucking rest in the emergency room without our goddamn kids coming in and asking us fucking questions. And no, we can't speak. So yeah, let's just go ahead and write it all down. And then they're just going to take off. Whatever. Poor Karen. Justice for Karen. And I was happy to see Ted take up arms, so to speak, with his golf clubs and do his best. Go Ted. The inclusion of Holly in the storyline. So we know now that Vecna is targeting a lot of kids, not just Holly, but it started with Holly. And you kind of figured that she was going to have an important role, especially after Mike gave her her own little D&D character, Holly the Heroic, which was super fucking sweet. Absolutely loved it. But I didn't think she would be the first one to get got. And it feels like right now she's playing quite the role in this season. And I think it would have made more sense had these seasons been filmed more close together. But it just feels like a little too late almost with Holly and including her. And especially since she's, I don't know, it looks like the actress is the same age as what the kids are supposed to be. You know, Dustin and Lucas and Mike and Will. So again, that's just something that's kind of jarring, and that does not mesh well in my brain space. Let's see. And then her disappearing around the same time of year as Will. So it's all bringing that back around and connecting season 1 to what's going to go down this season. And last thing about Holly is I just love her look in this memory land. She's got this Alice in Wonderland meets Dorothy look, and I fucking love it. Erica, we get Erica back. She is a delight to bring back. She's the fan favorite. But again, the actress is 19 years old, and how old is Erica and Holly supposed to be? Not 19. And at first I thought the actress that plays Erica was like on the taller side, because it seemed like some of the shots were set where she still looked shorter than the rest of our little upside down gang. But I looked it up and I think she said she's only like 5 foot, but still there's just something about the way her scenes were filmed and maybe that's me, but it just felt like it was giving like the reverse Tom Cruise effect where they were trying to make her look shorter. Hopefully that's not all we get of Erica, though, because she is still a delight. All right. And then when it comes to our gang of Mike and Dustin, Lucas, and Will, first and foremost, if Joyce is going to be such a fucking want to keep Will in such a protective bubble, maybe she always needs to keep him in her eye line, because thrice in this season or in this part 1, he starts having his goosebumpies or his goosies or whatever, whomever called him. I think that was Steve. Either way, he's connecting to the hive mind. He's connecting to Vecna, and nobody is fucking noticing this. Why have they not learned to just fucking keep an eye on Will? It's just so frustrating. I do like that he makes the comment that his haircut is outdated. I was disappointed that Robin didn't just start chopping away, but whatever. Hopefully that still happens later. Robin and Will and what is bringing them together. So far, I am kind of digging it. I like that Robin is trying to help Will find the closet door. It's so sweet. It's so nice. I like that Will is starting to kind of feel those feelings, not really try and push him down, but he feels validated because he has Robin in his life to show him that it's fine. It's all right. I just wish that he wasn't trying to flirt with Mike, because Mike clearly likes Elle and has since fucking day 1. Like, dude, read the room. Like, that's great that you're finding yourself, but like, and it's fine that if you want to come out to Mike because he's your best friend, maybe not so much with like the flirty and trying to do the playful back and forth, push, whatever. Because that was kind of sad to see, but also very frustrating. Let's see. I know I'm going really super fast, but again, like I said, my battery is dying on my laptop. Okay, so then speaking of Mike, we didn't really get a whole hell of a lot of Mike in these episodes. Like, he's there. He didn't really do anything or say anything that really truly stood out. So we'll go ahead and skip Mike for now. Lucas is still there for Max, and he still is visiting her what seems like every day, and he's playing the Kate Bush song for her to try and help bring her back. And I love that. I feel so bad for Lucas in that sense, but I love his determination and kind of his loyalty, his love for Max is still there. I also love that they're giving Caleb McLaughlin more this season. It's always kind of, especially like, I think one of my last rewatches, either way, it feels like they're trying to give him more this season to try and combat any claims of like racism or not treating him fairly or equally or anything like that. Which, good on him, but is it a too little, too late kind of thing? I don't know. We'll see. But when we're first introduced to Lucas in this season, he's walking down the hall like a badass and everything, which was super, super fucking cool. Not sure how I feel. Like, granted, he's there to save Dustin from being bullied, so he's got to be a bit more intimidating, but not entirely sure how I feel about reintroducing the Black character as like, quote, intimidating, quote, scary. And these kids are obviously right away afraid of him because he's Black. I don't know. That's kind of the only thing that really stood out when Lucas first showed up. But I've noticed that he seems to have more lines so far in this season. I think Caleb McLaughlin does a great job with Lucas, all things considered. I think he has spoke out in the past about issues on set. I don't know the details of them. Possibly some racially insensitive stuff, but that's on my end purely speculation because I have not followed those stories too closely. I see the headlines and my initial reaction is like, that doesn't fucking surprise me, unfortunately. Let's see. And then we have Dustin, and his mullet is something else. I kind of hate it, but I kind of love it. So we shall see where that... We'll see. But right now, his hair feels like it's just one of those baseball caps with hair attached. And I don't like that, but whatever. But Dustin is still being bullied, and he doesn't want to give up trying to find Vecna and everything. And neither does the gang at this point. And this is before Holly is taken. But they're very much like, no, let's just kind of lay low and blah, 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 or whatever the fuck they were trying to say. They were saying to him, where Dustin's very much like, no, you guys seem to have given up. But Dustin is like full force, still trying to get Vecna and still trying to keep like Eddie's memory alive and somewhat respected, or at least not vandalized. I don't like that Dustin is still being bullied. But I guess that is what it is. I don't like that his friends aren't supporting him in the way that he needs to be supported. And I think that lends into why he didn't tell them that he got the shit kicked out of him by the jock bullies. And fuck those guys. So that's a little bit heartbreaking. I do have to say, though, I am 100% on Dustin's side on all of that when he's kind of standing up to his friends, like in the school after the initial bullying incident, and them trying to be like asking him to take a different approach to be more low key or whatever. Eddie wouldn't have given a shit about what those assholes thought and all of those things. Like, I get it, but I also see where Dustin's coming from, and I just side with him a bit more on this. Plus, it was Dusty's toothless grin in season 1 that fucking stole my heart. So Dustin is going to be my little baby upside downer for the end of time. He's just such the sweetest looking fucking thing ever. But again, I don't care for the mullet. But that's not his fault. That's just the hairstyle's fault. Okay, let's see. Who else? Okay, so then we've got Jonathan and Steve doing the macho thing for Nancy, which, okay, I suppose, but whatever. I guess it's supposed to be like a comic relief thing. I don't know, but it's getting tiresome. Nancy's still cool. I not having any issues with her this season. I love her take chargeness. She seems to kind of be like the brain, so to speak, of the gang when it comes to organizing the crawls and whatnot. And when it comes to Eddie may be dead, but his hair lives on Nancy's head. So that's kind of nice. You know, she's always doing her part to try and remember those that had been taken. Justice for Barb. All right. We get Max. Max was a nice little surprise. Nothing she said was all that surprising, shocking, or twisty. But it's nice to have her back. And she will obviously play a big role in probably getting Holly out and saving Holly, as she has already found Holly and kind of given her the what's up on the Upside Down, or these memories that they're in. So that's kind of all we get of Max right now. She's stuck. She is more or less accepted her fate of being stuck, but with Holly being there, that has kind of provided a resurgence in that drive to get the fuck out. And then, of course, in that last shot of episode 4 and what's behind the big gross viney wall, not Vecna, but 8. And you know what? I'm like one of 8 people that actually liked the episode Little Sister. I get the criticism of the episode itself and its placement in the season. I get it. So I'm not going to try and argue any points or whatever. But even if that just ended up being a standalone episode, I was fine with that because it gave us a little bit more outside of Hawkins in the sense of what is going on or what went down in Hawkins' lab. And meeting 8 for the first time and realizing that, yes, there were more. I mean, we could have safely assumed that with 11 being the number 11. But it was, I was fine if it was just going to be a standalone to just kind of show us. Would I have liked that they would have, how am I going to phrase it? Was I hoping they would bring 8 back? Sure. But was I counting on it? Not at all. So her popping up was a nice little surprise. I am nervous, though, because I know that the Little Sister episode is not the most well-received episode of the series. So even though I'm a little excited, I'm also very reserved because I don't know how they are going to approach that character in incorporating her in the storylines. I think obviously Vecna is using her, so it's not Vecna that's behind the big gross viney wall, but it's 8, and I think he is using her to somehow do his bidding. Wouldn't it be a wonderful twist, though, if it was 8 actually in control of Vecna? So, like I said, it was a nice little surprise twist. I wasn't expecting her since I more or less kind of wrote her off because after, season 2 of being introduced to her and then her never being brought back, I think there's 1 or 2 mentions of her in last season. I don't even remember. But again, very reserved about how this is going to be handled. So I am approaching that storyline with caution. All right. Oh, and then, of course, we have Hop. And he's still Hop. He's, grumpy dad type, doing his best to try and continue to protect Elle. But I think she has proven herself to be quite capable. And at some point, he does need to just kind of trust her and let her go on these crawls with him. I understand his concern. Everyone down there is looking for her. Why would he put her in unnecessary danger and all of that? I mean, that makes sense after 20 years of the show. But I get it. He's, after all this time, he just still wants to keep her safe. But I think, especially after all this time, you know that she's going to do what she wants. Those kids are going to do what they want. And he just needs to shut up and roll with it. All right. So that is my very, 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 very high overview general thoughts on season 5, part 1. No, it was not worth the wait. Yes, I still am enjoying it for the most part, aside from some of the criticisms that I have, and I know a lot of other people have. Definitely could have been a lot more excited for this show. For this season, for it to be coming to an end. Will forever hate the whole fucking release of part 1, part 2, part 3. It's such bullshit. It's a retention tactic on Netflix's part. I am fucking sure of it. And they can make like Francie, Fack, and go fuck. All right, but enough of me being angry about shit. That's going to do it for me for this bonus episode. I want to thank you all so much for listening. I'll probably come out with another bonus mini bubble for part 2 because I just clearly can't keep my fucking mouth shut when it comes to this shit. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening and keep streaming. Goodbye. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to let me know by rating and reviewing on a podcast player near you and by sharing your favorite episodes with your friends, family, and mail carrier. Then be sure to follow me on all your favorite socials like Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Just search My Streaming Bubble and I should pop on up there for ya. If you have suggestions on what I should stream in my bubble next or you want to be tolerated, send an email to mystreamingbubble@gmail.com. Looking for merch? Stop by my Redbubble store where you can find and buy My Streaming Bubble stickers, hats, shirts, and more. You can also head over to buymeacoffee.com and, well, buy me a coffee. Need more Podcast Me in your life? Then be sure to check out my other podcast, Twin It to Win It. That's a monthly podcast that I co-host with my podcast brain twin, Erin from It's a Fandom Thing, where we test our twinningness by trying to guess if we both feel the same way about different horror movies. You can find and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And most importantly, you can listen, rate, review, and share from most podcast players. Thank you for your support and keep streaming. Goodbye.